Hi everyone, it's Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today I've got some exciting news to share with our customers here in Australia and New Zealand, and that is about the Hemingworth thread, the amazing Hemingworth Poly Select embroidery thread that is. And if you've been dealing with us for a long time, you would certainly know about Hemingworth thread. We've been selling it in Australia and New Zealand for about 15 years now, and it's the spool that comes with the incredible cap system on it that gives you an amazing thread delivery and storage system all in one. And every spool of 1000-meter Hemingworth comes with this little cap system. And if you haven't already done so, I'd encourage you to watch the video that we provided many years ago, and it really does show you how wonderful this thread is and the system of the cap system is as well. So anyway, what has happened? Well, let me tell you, we've sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of spools of thread. And as every one of them came with the little cap system, many of you, the people who've been using Hemingway thread for a long time, have actually accumulated a whole stack of these plastic caps. And they're beautifully made, and they've got the little rubber stopper in the top. And we'll talk about that in a few moments. But if you've accumulated these, as many have, you've been wondering, what do you do with them? And I know a lot of them have ended up at childcare centres and kindergartens, just as things that they work out things to do with them. We've seen some amazing uses for these. But the best use, of course, is over the top of a Hemingworth spool. So let me just pop that back there. And the way it works, of course, is the cap sits on the spool. It has this little stopper in the top, and that stopper stops the thread from unraveling. But when you take that off, the thread pulls out beautifully and smoothly out of the spool without you handling the thread, and it's just a fantastic delivery system. And when we're finished with that particular spool of thread, you just pop the cap, the little rubber stopper back in the top, trim off the thread, just use some scissors there, trim off the thread, and that will store beautifully in your storage system or whatever you're using. It won't unravel, you won't be handling it, and it's going to give you a great longevity on the thread. So the question has been for many years now, can you buy the Hemingway spool without the cap? And up until now, you couldn't. Every spool shipped with the cap in place like that. So now you can. Effective pretty much immediately, we have got the option on our website to order the spool without the cap. So if you have kept all your old caps and rubber stoppers, you can reuse them on your new spool. There's a few benefits with that. One is you're going to save some money. Secondly, you're going to save resources because it's environmentally going to be more friendly not to be supplying these every time. So keep them, don't throw them out, and when you reorder, just pop the old one back on the new spool. And we'll show you on our website just how easy it is. We'll just give you a little video now showing you how to do that and how to select whether you want a cap or not a cap, and whether you want to save money. So that is exciting news for Hemingworth users. Now, I should say, if you've never used Hemingworth thread before and you want to give it a go, it is a 100% polyester, color-fast embroidery thread. It's a superb thread. It runs beautifully, and it is available in 300 shades. And you can also request, whenever you're ordering thread, if you want one of our little printed color charts, you can order one of these. And these are great because they give you the option of ticking off all the colors you've got. And if you're lucky, you'll end up with all 300 shades. And there's no better way to get great embroidery results and have a big range of colors. So they are available. There's also an actual thread color card available, and these are fantastic because they're actual thread swatches, and because it's on this sort of ring-bound system, you can match your thread directly up with your fabric very easily. So they're also available on our website. There is a charge for those, but they're very handy to have. And if you're starting out and you're not sure what colors to get to sort of start with Hemingworth, I would recommend grab one of the 15 packs, and these are beautifully boxed, and there's 15 primary colors, as you can see here. And they're all colors that you will use, so you can't go wrong with that, and there's a bit of a saving in getting the 15 pack of threads. And for the more adventurous, you can always go with the lovely big 64 spool set, which there's 2 layers of thread in here. It has the little color conversion charts there. There's even a CD with 117 designs on it. But these are the same colors, or the closest match colors to the standard Brother embroidery palette, and each spool is actually labeled with that on there, so you can reuse those caps again when you replace them. There's another layer of thread underneath this top layer, so there's 64 spools in there. That gives you 61 colors, a double upper black, and a black and white bobbin thread. So that's also a great way to get cracking with Hemingworth. Another thing that has just been increased is the 5,000 meter range. So This is exactly the same thread as we have down there on the 1,000 meter spools. It doesn't come with a cap system, but it's a very efficient way to buy a high quality polyester thread. 120 shades available in that 5,000 meter range, and very, very, very affordable. And for the big users, if you use a lot of thread, I would recommend, if you can get the 5,000 meter spools, grab that. Now, I should also say that if you are needing to store a big range of threads, so for example, if you've got the whole 300 shades of Hemingworth, take a look at our Hemingworth thread cabinet, and it is amazing. The Hemingworth thread stand is the most efficient way to store up to 315 spools of thread in your sewing room. And let's face it, you can end up with a lot of thread, and being able to get to it really simply and quickly is really important. But even more important is being able to see the color ranges and the gradients. Now, what makes the Hemingworth thread stand out is that it can be a freestanding piece of furniture on your bench or on the floor, but it can also be mounted to the wall. So it's got an actual mounting bracket that comes with it. But I do point out, if you're getting this mounted to a wall, get someone who knows what they're doing to do it, because there is a fair bit of weight here and it does need to be mounted to a stud or a frame. Now, let's have a closer look. Greatest part about this is it is a ready to assemble piece of furniture. When you put it together, and the instructions are quite clear and simple, but the quality is great. So the drawers are all on steel rollers, so one finger will actually pull those guys in and out. You don't need to fight with them, they just glide out. And on each drawer, you will be able to see all the color shading and that's what makes the difference when you're trying to choose a color, is being able to see all the gradient shading. So for the range of Hemingway threads, when there's 300 in the range, there is a space for each thread, and there's these stickers come with the thread cabinet to tell you where all the threads are, so you don't have to pull the drawers out until you actually find what you're looking for. It's really, really convenient to really maximize your embroidery potential, because honestly, thread colors, and most of you would know, you end up with such a large range of threads, and that's what makes embroidery so much easier, is when you've got good quality thread and a big range of it, but it's got to be accessible, and that's what the Hemingworth thread stand does. So if you're going to go down this path of getting a big range of threads, can't recommend this guy enough. Now, a couple of other things about Hemingway thread that people have asked and done over the years, and I may as well point it out right now. When you buy a spool of thread, whether it has the cap or you order it with or without the cap, the thread itself will have a plastic wrap around it. That's just to protect it during the process of shipping and all that sort of thing. Once you get it, you need to take that wrap off. Now, sometimes the wraps will just pull off nice and easily, but if they've been shrunk on a little bit tighter than others, they won't always come off too easily. And sometimes, in fact, if you pull on that wrap too tight, you could pull a bit of thread off, and you don't want to do that. So my tip is, grab a pair of scissors and just very carefully put a bit of a nick into the plastic wrap that surrounds it. Grab that wrap, and then you can just peel it away like that, and it's gone. And you've got no chance of pulling thread out of the spool. Now, once you've got that there, grab the loose end, and that's often a little tied in a tiny little bow. And to make that work on your spool system, remember, we leave the thread in the spool when we're using it. You just simply take the thread, drop it down into the spool, pull it through, pull it up like that, clip the spool into place, and then pop the little silicone stop in there, and that means it will not unravel. I'm just going to trim that little bit of waste off there. That means the thread is beautifully protected within the cap itself. You're never handling the thread, so you're not going to be soiling it at all. It keeps it out of the way of dust and other contaminants, and it means it won't unravel. So when you go to use this spool next, all you've got to do is take that little cap off and pull the thread out. Now, you'll notice that the thread will come out at any angle, so you can pull the thread that way. You can have the thread sitting in front of your machine, you can have it on a spool stand, you can have it on the lay down spool spindle on your machine. It doesn't really matter. And when you're finished with it, pop that little cap back in there and trim off the excess, and that's going to store beautifully until you use it next time. And one final thing, there's a lot of talk at the moment about, can you use embroidery thread as a sewing thread or a seaming or construction thread? And the answer quite simply is yes, you can use pretty much any thread you want. But I'm going to do a separate video explaining the virtues and all the pros and cons of using embroidery thread as a seaming thread. But the answer in simple is yes, you can. So watch just look out for that video. We'll let you know when it's there, and that'll explain quite a bit about that whole process actually. But Hemmingworth is a great polyester thread, and very strong, beautifully color fast, high sheen, and will give you a fantastic embroidery result regardless. So I hope that information is helpful. I hope you like the idea of being able to buy the thread without the cap and save a bit of money. Good for the environment, good for your pocket, and good for everyone. So if you have any questions, please let us know. But in the meantime, happy embroidering.